Let's turn our attention to automation, which I've hinted at briefly earlier on. Automation in Reason is probably one of my favorite things about the program. For a start, just about everything on screen can be automated by simply alt-clicking. So let's take this arpeggio as an example. And then alt-click on the filter cutoff. This will create a new automation lane in the sequence track for it. Automation is stored in clips just like notes, so you can alternate and click to draw in a new part. And then double-click to enter edit mode. From here, you can double-click to create points, or hold alternate to draw automation in freehand. Points will snap to the current grid resolution, so you can either link this to the zoom level with grid, or set it to a fixed value. By pressing S, you can disable snap entirely, and the resulting automation is cleaned up for you as you draw. Alternatively, with an automation clip selected, you can press F8 to open the toolbox, make sure that you're on Sequencer Tools, and then use Automation Cleanup. Another trick is to hold Control, the Command, and alternate while you draw in automation. This creates 2 points and adjusts both of them at the same time. So if I draw in some crazy freehand automation, I can then create a quick dip or trough by holding Control, the Command, and alternate. This is also great for creating stepped modulation, as a single click will create a space between the points equal to the current grid resolution. So let's begin by firstly clearing all of this by holding Control or Command and pressing A, and then delete. And then I'll turn on snap and set my resolution to 1/8 notes. Now while holding Control or Command and alternate, I can click to create stepped modulation patterns. Points can be selected and moved around, and you can also duplicate them by holding Control or Command while you drag. Meanwhile, the info bar shows you the position and the value, which can be equalized using the equals tool. And of course, you can set points to exact locations by just typing them in. Now, the number on the automation lane itself is the static value. Static values are incredibly useful as they determine the value of a parameter when no automation is present, which is quite different to how a lot of other DAWs work. I'll show you what I mean. Firstly, I'll draw in some automation, and then I'll create a copy of the MIDI clip, but not the automation. And let's check out what happens when the clip ends. You see there that the filter cutoff jumped back up to the static value. I can change what that value is at any time by clicking and dragging, or entering in a number. This is especially useful when you're automating a large number of parameters. So for instance, I'm just going to alternate and click a whole bunch of different things here. And then draw in some random automation for them. In other DAWs, you would usually have to manually create automation points to reset everything back to where it should be, as automation usually hangs at its last value, but not so in Reason. This is hugely powerful as it allows you to create incredibly complex automation at any point in a song, and then return to your original settings afterwards. Now, because automation is stored in clips, you can manipulate it very much like MIDI data. Clips can be moved and duplicated by holding Control or Command. They can be resized, cut, or time stretched by using the pointer and holding Control or Command. And of course, they can even be reversed. Automation can be moved and copied between different parameters. So we'll alternate click resonance to create a new lane, and then I can move or copy this data around as I need it. Sometimes a parameter will be expecting a different range of values. For example, the waveform selector. So if I was to try and move that automation onto the lane, it wouldn't work until I right-clicked and chose Adjust Alien Clips to Lane, and then it'll try its best to interpret that data as something that the parameter can understand. Of course, if you want to mute a parameter, you can do that from the lane controls, or you can remove them with the X. As covered in the Recording MIDI chapter, you can also record automation in real time by first mapping a control on your control surface using Edit Remote Override Mapping. Simply move a control on your MIDI controller, ensure that automation recording is enabled, and then record your movements in real time. That data can then be manipulated in the ways that we've just covered. Now, some devices, such as pattern sequencers, will have their own special automation lanes, as covered in the Working with Pattern Devices chapter. But otherwise, everything detailed here applies to just about every parameter on every device. That includes instruments, effects, mix channels, even channel strip controls. You can also automate the master tempo and time signature, again by alternating clicking to create lanes. In this case, the tempo automation behaves like any other parameter, while the time signature behaves more like a pattern clip, allowing you to select a time signature using the drop-down menu. You can also specify your own custom signatures. As with parameter automation, when no clip is present, the original tempo and time signature will be reverted to. So again, automation is probably my favorite aspect of Reason. So while we take a short break, try automating different on-screen controls, experimenting with cutting, time stretching, duplicating, and so on. Also remember that you can automate inside of MIDI clips, as covered in the Editing MIDI chapter. Let's take a moment, and I'll capture you in the next chapter.